What do you do when the person you've built your life with shatters it in a single sentence? For 20 years, I believed in us. 20 years of laughter, fights, late-night talks, and promises whispered under starlit skies. David and I weren't perfect, but we were real. Our marriage was a house we'd built together, sturdy, warm, a little worn at the edges, but ours. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration of that. Our 20th anniversary. I'd spent weeks planning it, the restaurant, the dress, the perfect table by the window overlooking the city lights. I wanted it to feel like the early days, when love was effortless and the future was a blank page we'd write together. I sat across from David, my heart fluttering as I adjusted the sapphire necklace he'd given me on our 10th anniversary. He looked handsome in his suit, though his eyes seemed distant, flickering in the candlelight. The waiter poured wine, and I raised my glass, smiling. To us, I said, my voice soft with hope. David didn't smile back. He set his glass down, untouched, and leaned forward. His gaze locked onto mine, steady and unyielding. Clara, he said, his voice low, I want out. The words hit like a physical blow, stealing the air from my lungs. The restaurant's hum, clinking glasses, soft laughter, the murmur of other lives faded to nothing. I stared at him, waiting for the punchline, for the moment he'd laugh and say he was joking. But his face was a mask of resolve, his jaw tight, his eyes unwavering. I'm sorry, he added, but the apology felt hollow, like a formality. Out? I whispered, my voice trembling. What does that even mean, David? He sighed, running a hand through his graying hair. I haven't been happy. Not for a long time. I've tried, Clara, I swear. But I can't keep pretending. I want a divorce. The room spun. 20 years. 2 decades of shared mornings, of his coffee breath and my cold feet under the blankets. Of our daughter, Lily, now 17, who still rolled her eyes at our corny jokes. Of the house we'd painted together, the vacations, the fights we'd survived. All of it, unraveling in a single sentence. I wanted to scream, to throw my wine in his face, to demand why. But I sat frozen, my hands gripping the edge of the table, the sapphire necklace suddenly heavy against my chest. Why now? I managed, my voice breaking. Why tonight? David looked away, his fingers tracing the rim of his glass. I didn't want to ruin this for you. But I couldn't wait any longer. It's not fair to either of us. Fair. The word stung. Nothing about this felt fair. I thought of the card I'd tucked into my purse, the one I'd written that morning, filled with words about love and gratitude. I thought of the way I'd caught him staring at me last week, a faint smile on his lips, and convinced myself it was affection. How had I missed this? How had I not seen the cracks in the life we'd built? The waiter approached, oblivious to the wreckage at our table, and set down our appetizers. I stared at the platesome delicate arrangement of greens and seafood I couldn't name and felt nausea rise. I need air, I said, standing abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. David didn't stop me. He just watched, his expression unreadable, as I walked out of the restaurant into the cool night air. Outside, the city buzzed around me, indifferent. I leaned against a lamppost, my breath coming in shaky gasps. 20 years, and he wanted out. No warning, no discussion. Just a decision, dropped like a guillotine. I wanted to hate him, but all I felt was a hollow ache, a grief for something I hadn't even lost yet. That's when I saw her. A woman, maybe in her 60s, sitting on a bench across the street, feeding pigeons from a paper bag. She wore a faded coat, her silver hair pulled into a loose bun, and there was a quiet dignity in the way she moved, unbothered by the world rushing past. Something about her steadied me. I crossed the street, drawn to her calm, and sat on the bench, leaving a polite distance between us. "They don't judge, you know," she said without looking at me, tossing crumbs to the birds. Her voice was warm, weathered, like she'd lived 1,000 lives. I laughed, a brittle sound. Wish I could say the same about people. She turned to me then, her eyes sharp and kind, like she could see straight through to the wound I was carrying. "Rough night?" I nodded, my throat tight. "My husband just told me he wants a divorce. At our 20th anniversary dinner." She didn't gasp or offer pity. Instead, she handed me the bag of crumbs. "Feed them. It helps." I took the bag, tossing a handful to the pigeons, watching them flutter and peck. "How do you keep going?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "When it all falls apart?" She smiled, a small, wistful thing. "I was you once. 30 years ago, my husband left. Said he needed to find himself. I was angry for a long time. But then I realized something, the life we had wasn't holding me together. I was." Her words landed softly, like the crumbs at our feet. I didn't know her name, didn't need to. In that moment, she was a lifeline, a reminder that survival was possible. We sat in silence for a while, the pigeons cooing between us, until I felt steady enough to go back inside. David was still at the table, his food untouched. I sat down, meeting his gaze. "Tell me why," I said, my voice stronger now. "I deserve to know." He hesitated, then spoke, his words measured. "It's not someone else, Clara. It's me. I feel like I've lost who I am. I wake up every day, and it's the same routine, the same life. I need to figure out what I want." His confession wasn't what I expected. No affair, no betrayal, just a man lost in his own skin. It didn't erase the hurt, but it shifted something in me. I saw him not as the villain, but as someone struggling, just as I was. "I don't know if I can forgive you for this," I said, my voice steady. "But I'm not going to beg you to stay. If you need to go, go. But don't think I'm the one who's broken." David's eyes widened, like he hadn't expected me to fight back. I didn't feel strong, not really, but I felt alive. The woman on the bench had reminded me of something I'd forgotten. I was more than this marriage, more than the life we'd built. I was Clara, and I would survive this. The rest of the dinner passed in a blur. We ate in silence, the weight of 20 years hanging between us. When we left, I didn't take his arm like I usually did. I walked alone, the sapphire necklace still heavy against my chest, but my steps were firm. In the weeks that followed, David moved out. Lily cried, then raged, then started healing, the way teenagers do. I found a therapist, a good one, who helped me untangle the mess of grief and anger. I started painting again, something I hadn't done since college, and found solace in the colors, in the act of creating something new. One day, months later, I saw the woman from the bench again, feeding pigeons in the same spot. I sat beside her, and this time, I brought my own bag of crumbs. "You were right," I said. "I'm holding myself together." She smiled, her eyes crinkling. "You always were." Life after David wasn't what I'd planned. It was messy, painful, and sometimes lonely. But it was mine. And in that, I found a kind of freedom I hadn't known I'd lost. The house we'd built together was gone, but I was building a new one, brick by brick, with my own hands.